This is the Morning Swim Show for Tuesday, May 1st, 2012. I'm your host, Peter Bush. In the Phoenix Monitor today, we'll talk to Nick Folker. He's the strength coach for the swimmers at UC-Berkeley. And Nick joins us right now in the Phoenix Monitor from Berkeley, California. Coach, welcome to the Morning Swim Show. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me on the show.
Congratulations to you as well on both the guys and girls winning the NCAA championships. I know you're a big part of it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Tell me what's changed in strength training for swimmers especially in the past decade since you were in the pool.
I think the biggest change, I mean, obviously technology is going to be a part of that. But I think the biggest change is we're having swimmers do conditioning for swimmers. You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing I've been able to bring to the pool, that I remember what it feels like. Have a really hard session, then go try get in the pool and actually lift your arms off, out of the water and push off the wall. I think traditionally you've always had, someone with a football or basketball or baseball background doing the conditioning for swimmers. And I think they do a good job, but they don't understand the variable of water, and I think that's very tough.
Okay, what is like a specific set, we like to ask this on the show, that you could share that swimmers could benefit from, in the weight room?
I like to do a lot of body weight work. I think there's not maybe one specific set, but it's more the progression of the athlete. I'll give you a couple examples. Tom Shields, when he first came in, we run an assessment on flexibility, stability, and mobility on the athletes when they come in. Tom's hamstrings were so bad; he was so inflexible in his hamstrings that we didn't really. I didn't load him. We didn't squat him for a long time, and he's any bench press he did was on the floor with 40 pounds. I think was the maximum he got to his first year. So it's very tailored to the specific athlete. I do like to do a lot of pull-ups, a lot of chin-ups. The athletes will attest to that. And then short course yards, we'll do a fair amount of squats and deadlifts.
So Tom Shields, probably the best underwater kicker in college swimming, if not the world right now, did not have flexible hamstrings when he came in?
He was his hamstrings were really bad. I don't think he'd done any glute work, and his hip flex was very tight as well. So after the assessment that I took him through, we tailored his workout to still get the same movements in, but not compromise him or put him at risk of injury. And I think given his freshman year and what he's done since then, it's paid off.
That's pretty remarkable. You would do the guys team, ladies, and the postgrads?
And then I have, obviously diving's included, and I have both men's and women's water polo as well. So I have just over 140 collegiate athletes, and then the postgrads.
Now, I know you can't possibly do 140 different specific workouts, but you try as much as you can to tailor what each athlete does?
Very much so. The postgrads are all doing something different. With just looking at both swim teams, by the time we got to mid-January, February, we had about 20 to 25 different individual workouts for the men and about 13 to 18 for the women, based on the group we thought we'd have for NCAAs. And then with water polo, we have about 5 to 8 different workouts per team, based on their position and the year they are in school and their body composition.
This year, something that was remarkable about the men's team was the freshmen. I mean, they won the 4x50 freestyle relay with 3 freshmen and a sophomore, which is very unusual, especially for an event like the 50, which usually requires a lot of power. Now, none of those guys were necessarily jumping out at you as the strongest guys in the world, but you still must have. I mean, when you're dealing with a freshman, you got to be a little careful, right? Because not all of them have strength training background.
You do, and I think again, you asked what something we do differently, and it's acknowledging that a lot of the swimmers and water polo players coming here have never been into a weight room. They've done some dry land, they've done some work, but they've never really been in a pressure situation in the weight room. So we do a lot of dumbbell work. A guy like Tyler was doing something very different to Seth, and so based off that, even Shane Fleming. It's taken us 18 months to develop him to where he's got, and he's still in a huge developmental phase. You know, we're looking at him to really break through probably his junior, senior, and even, you know, later on than that.
Because they're just, a man's body matures greatly between the time they're 18 and say 21.
Very much so.
You've been there, what, about 9 years?
This is my 8th year, correct.
Strongest swimmer you've ever seen at Cal?
I'd say strength to weight ratio. I mean, obviously Nathan's probably, he's up there. Dewey Dragania was very strong. You know, we've had on the female side, Nat's very, you know, strength to weight ratio. She's putting up some good weight. But I'd probably say Nathan is probably the strongest we've had so far.
How did you wind up there?
I actually I swam out here post-collegiately. I swam professionally here for a while. Ended up doing a grad program here and saw the potential for this position. That, you know, there was no one with a swimming background in strength and conditioning. You know, Mike Bottom was here. We pushed it pretty hard, and it was an experiment. I think it's played out pretty well.
And when we talk to swim coaches on the show a lot, we ask them, you know, where do you learn from? Even when you're at the pinnacle, you're still learning, either from other coaches or going to clinics or traveling. I mean, where do you get new ideas?
I think a lot of it is, I hate to say it, but experiment. You know, Sam Freeze was my coach in college, and he really opened my mind to a lot of the work that we do. You know, and then just talking to Terry and Dave and, you know, what they're looking for. They two very, very smart minds. You know, Dave's had a lot of grounding through Auburn. Terry's taken a lot of, you know, a lot of ideas, and I think she's sort of fine-tuning it to where she's at. And then someone like Vern Gambetta. Vern's been a mentor to me. He's sort of the godfather of functional movement. And it's just trying to, you know, it's like I'd say, as an artist, a piece of cloth, and you're creating your art form. It's just some things work, some don't, and you got to go with the ones that do. And
finally, Nick, if there are some younger swimmers watching, maybe teenagers or their coaches, club coaches, and they're interested, and they keep hearing that strength training would pay great dividends in the pool, what would you suggest to them if they're just starting out?
I'd say, look, one, their age is going to be a huge factor. And then...
is there an age that you just say don't start before that age, or it just depends?
You know, I don't think there is an age. I think it's body type too. I mean, I grew when I was 18, 19. So for me, starting strength training too early would have been detrimental. I think body weights and any kind of movements that you're doing, lunges, you know, reverse lunges are good. And just being athletic through the movements. Some body types are already early. It's very individualized. I think that's one thing we really preach here. So there's no one fits all.
So it's not as simple as just getting on a bench press and just seeing how much you can bench. It's more, I mean, strength comes in many different ways.
It does, and I think that's one thing, you know, we don't do traditional bench. You know, we never use the bar. There are many ways to skin the cat, and I think that's it's very individualized to the athlete.
Well, Nick, whatever you're doing seems to be working. Congratulations again on a great year.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for joining us. That's Nick Folker joining us from Cal Berkeley today, and that's it for today's show. I'm Peter Bush, reminding you to keep your head down at the finish.